We've talked about Nigerians quietly leaving Canada. But what about those who are still here, legally, professionally, and by choice, quietly thriving? There's this quiet bias that if you are Nigerian and you're in Canada, it's because you couldn't get into the US, so you settled. Like back in school, when you don't get the cutoff for medicine, you found yourself in Agric. But some people actually chose Agric as their first choice. And some of us, we chose Canada with our full chest, despite what some people may want to believe. So let's talk about the real reasons some Nigerians are staying and thriving in Canada. Compared to the US, Canada's health system is not fast. We all know that. But it's free and accessible. You won't get kicked out of ER because you don't have a credit card or your credit card bounced. In Nigeria, one medical emergency can wipe out your entire life savings. That is, even if you find a hospital equipped to treat you. Also in the US, one serious illness, even with insurance, can cost you your home. That healthcare coverage is a no-brainer for many people. Canada is imperfect, but at least the law works. You're not bribing your way to justice, you're not getting arrested because some big man felt disrespected. Just look at what's happening to Senator Natasha back home. Justice isn't always about fairness in Nigeria. Here, if your landlord oversteps, you have three options. If you vote, it counts. If someone abuses power, systems exist to call them out. And yes, shout out to the justice courts in Nigeria. They are doing important work making justice more accessible. But outside efforts like that, the average Nigerian still struggles to get justice and fairness without money or influence. For many Nigerians, staying isn't about them, it's about their kids. Free good public education, accessible special needs services for kids with special needs, after-school programs, even potential for future scholarships. It's not just about today, it's about who their children can become tomorrow. Yes, Canada has rules. Don't park here, don't barbecue there, shovel your snow like this. But honestly, it's nice to have rules when you know that it applies to everyone. You're not dodging stray bullets, you're not bribing your way through police checkpoints. You have the right to express yourself freely and even criticize the government without being used as a scapegoat. Even if you are broke, law enforcement officers treat you with dignity. Of course, the US is attractive. More jobs, faster systems, more visibility, lots of happenings and plenty of enjoyments. But the racial tension there is heavier. The healthcare is a crisis and the gun violence is a deal breaker for many people. There are parents in the US volunteering to stand guard outside schools. Not for field trips, but to watch out for gunmen who may attempt to come into the school to hurt the kids. That's a different level of fear many Nigerians are not willing to trade the relative peace they enjoy in Canada with. So even when some Nigerians have job offers from the US, they still choose to stay in Canada because to them, it just feels more livable long term. Kesi Madu, Nigerian-born lawyer. He became Alberta Justice Minister, the first black person to hold that position in any Canadian province. Yes, he later faced controversy, but that doesn't erase the milestone. He didn't just survive the system, he rose in it. We also have Nigerian doctors running their own practices, tech professionals building careers, dentists starting their own clinics. They are not loud online, but they are doing well, quietly. Normally, when you talk about Canada, there's a lot of pessimistic views from our people. But it's refreshing to hear some people say something different than the narrative. And this is not to undermine other people's negative experiences, but it's still refreshing in this sea of not too nice experience. We get to hear some positive experience. So somebody commented, they said, I came to Canada as a pharmacist in the 90s. Canada gave me structure, stability, and hope. This person admitted that it's not like Canada was a paradise. It was cold, there were taxes, but they still called Canada a blessing. Somebody else said it's hard, but they are not constantly scared. A Nigerian guy made a video where he was saying he's grateful for Canada, he loves Canada, and see the backlash. Some people were calling him JJC. That it's because Canada has not shown him pepper. That's why he's saying he's grateful. When I see comments like this, I just wish people would realize that not everybody will have the same experience. Someone said the Nigerians are living because the government stopped giving them money. That comment was not just funny, it was also very ridiculous. So we're talking about highly skilled, well-paid professionals here. Some of them are earning 6 figures. Because in some people's mind, once you're an immigrant, you are poor. People need to stop acting like all immigrants are poor and need government assistance to survive. Many Nigerians are thriving in their professions, even with the Canadian Experience jail. Among those staying back, some of them can comfortably afford to go back home to Nigeria or even to another country, let's say the US. But they are choosing to stay because it's their preference. Another thing is that Canada isn't one size fits all. Because some people will be talking from their experience in one province and another person will be talking from their experience in another province. I personally have different experience from people living in other provinces. For example, some people say Canada is too woke. I live in Alberta, one of the most conservative provinces in all of Canada. Your experience in Toronto may be different from somebody in Regina or in Prince Edward Island. One guy was telling me about his kid's school in another province, and I was like, are we talking about the same country? In some provinces, it takes years to get a family doctor. But for us, when we landed, in the same week, we got our own family doctor. We were even picking and choosing who is closest to us. So experiences differ based on where you stay. Choosing to stay or leave Canada, for me, is choosing your battles. What are you willing to put up with? Because there's no perfect place in this world. Canada isn't perfect. It's cold, it's expensive, and sometimes lonely. But for some people who have lived in less stable places, it can be their first choice. So when you see Nigerians staying, don't assume that they are stuck or they settled because the first choice wouldn't let them in. Your first choice is not somebody else's first choice. Sometimes they chose peace, structure, opportunity, even if it doesn't look flashy. Over to you. Are you staying? Are you leaving? Are you somewhere in between? Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.